Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of the Serene View. I'm Serene Seng, your host, and today with me is a dear friend Javier, whose relationship with me started by me mispronouncing his name every day, calling him Javier. Right. So Javier is a Spanish management consultant, and he's here to share with us, I think, a topic that is probably top most on most leaders' minds right now, which is, oh my goodness, what am I going to do to deal with uncertainty? Now, before we go into the topic itself, Javier, would you like to introduce a little bit about yourself?
Okay, thanks, Erin. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Of course, I'm very glad to be with you and all the people around us. So, well, my name is Javier, as you told me before, and I'm very pleased to be here. I work in a multinational for many years, almost 2 decades, and I work as a floor manager, sales manager, human resources manager, director, and regional director. And since the last 4 years, I've been working as a consultant, also as a coach, mentor, and training and doing a lot of training for companies. And my specialty is leadership and, of course, team building. And I'm also work as a lecturer at the university here in Castellón at the UGI. And I'm very pleased, as I told you, to be with all of you and, of course, to share our knowledge and experience about that.
So, welcome to those of you who are here. Nikki has already commented saying true grit. Yes. Thank you so much. Come and share with us a little bit more about what you are thinking of. And let's talk a little bit first about this whole idea of uncertainty. Let's go through a little bit of, simple definitions, right? What do we mean by uncertainty?
Wow, uncertainty. This is the this is a great word, and I think we all of us we learn about that. I think when COVID started, I think that was the first time we realized that how important is to deal with uncertainty, and right now with the war in Ukraine and Russia, there's a lot of uncertainty around the world. So for me, uncertainty is the first idea is that okay, we have to think that the world has changed and it never will be the same. So for me, this is the key question. So we have to embrace uncertainty because uncertainty is the feeling that you can control anything. So when you are not able to control anything, you feel anxious, you feel bad, you feel that you don't have the possibility to manage things, to manage your company, to manage your life. So this is very difficult, no, for many people. So for me, that will be uncertainty mainly.
Yeah. I think Nikki has also shared his definition of it, saying that uncertainty is an uncomfortable position, but certainty is an absurd one. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And, there's so much volatility, there's so much risk, but at the same time, it does make us feel alive and ready and wanting to do your best. And I think this really relates to the term that we keep hearing, right? VUCA, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Now, some of you may be surprised to hear that it's already been more than 30 years since we have invented VUCA. Okay. And recently, actually, okay, this gentleman, he's American, but he has a Spanish name. And since I have a Spaniard, I'm not going to pronounce his name. I'm going to let Javier pronounce. How would you pronounce his name?
Jamás Casio.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So he's an American futurist and he's created a whole new paradigm called Bunny. What does that mean? Brittle means subject to catastrophic failure. It's like the world, right? The world was running perfectly well, and one little thing kind of breaks the whole system. Anxious is where every decision can potentially lead to disaster. Again, with COVID, we realized that if we lock down, there is, huge issues with economy, with people's livelihood. If we don't lock down, then we are facing quite possibly, overwhelm of the medical system and a high death toll. So what do we do? Right? Non-linear is where we talk about cause and effect not being related. So if you've ever heard the story of a butterfly flapping its wings
Yeah.
in China, causing a hurricane in Brazil, that's what non-linear is all about. And incomprehensible literally means even if we ask, like, what happened? How did this happen? We still can understand it. So, I mean, put it very bluntly this way. How can a few people eating wild animal in China shut the whole world down and put the whole world in lockdown? Like, it's incomprehensible, but it is what happened. And so he created this 2 years ago, and I don't know whether how you feel about it. I mean, this is his article on it, but I feel that it really brings this sensation, this feeling that the uncertainty that we are dealing with right now isn't that of your parents. It's just like, not your usual uncertainty, not the ones that all the past generations have dealt with. We're not old enough to talk about, in my day, but yes, that's how I feel at the moment. Yeah. Yes. Okay. And so one of the things that you can think about, right? So Nikki talks about, she's working with the Singapore government in the tourism ministry, and they were presenting at Reset Tourism Destinations, in 16 September 2022. So you can get support from the market for, yeah, sure. Thank you very
Hmm.
much. And so I think we want to move on. We have seen the uncertainty. We want to move on, but at the same time, we're like, we don't know what it is and we don't know how it is. So, I mean, how do you feel? I mean, what have you seen in terms of leaders and, why they are facing all these uncertainty?
Yes, this is a tough question. How leaders facing increasing uncertainty.
Yes, you must answer all the tough questions. I get to answer the simple ones. I'm the host. You're the expert. You get to answer all the tough questions.
Yes, well, I think what I'm seeing around the companies that I'm with working with them, what many of them is that what they are trying to keep as much information as they can, because in this difficult world with a lot of uncertainty, I think that they have the right information, the better information is key. So what I'm seeing is that many of the best leaders and the companies, they are trying to focus more on their people. They are trying to increase their communication with them because don't forget that our people are near customers, so they have a lot of information, and the information is near than, for instance, the information that you are receiving for the news, the media, or these kind of things. No? So I think this is one of the things, no. So to have a different approach, not only your team, also the suppliers, also another competitors that they work as colleagues, and also they are improving the networking. For instance, through LinkedIn, there are a lot of possibilities to connect with other people and to collaborate and to know more about that. Especially in different sectors, they are trying to get as much information as they can. And I think apart from that, I think this is a great opportunity to receive more things.
And I think Nick made a really good point. He says leaders are scared right now. Is this what you also see with your clients, that the leaders, they are scared at the moment?
Yes, some of them, yes. What I'm seeing is that some leaders are scared because they are not able to change anything. They feel that if their hands are tied and they can't do nothing. You can see that, for instance, the gas is increasing a lot, the food is increasing a lot, the energy is increasing a lot. So they feel that they can do anything. But however, there are other leaders that they are continuously doing things. They are in action. They are proving new tests, new products, new ideas. So for me, this is the difference. So if you are stop, you are die. So the difference for me is that you must need keep moving and doing different things. This is the difference between both of them, from my point of view.
Yeah. And I think I would invite those of you who are on the call with us. I mean, share with us, how are you? I mean, how have things become more uncertain in your area of work? What kind of uncertainty are you currently facing, that is perhaps different or worse from before? And like Nikki says, that you can be driven by fear or faith, and it is better to choose something that is more positive. But I think at the end of the day, right, what we are facing, right? When we look at the world and we go like, um, one of the things that Deloitte did this survey, I think end of last year. They do it every quarter, and they said CEOs are feeling that more uncertainty right now than in 2020. Because in 2020 it was very clear, right? Our people all have to go home. We need to secure the life of our people. I mean, the health and life of our people right now. But right now, it's like, what do I do? Do I open up? Do I go back? Do I develop my business? Is it going to be a recession? And there's way more uncertainty right now. Okay? And as Nikki says, uncertainty opens up opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And as in your work with your clients, is that something that you also see?
Yes, absolutely. I'm seeing that, for instance, that there are a lot of leaders that they are deciding to improve and invest more in their people. For instance, they are trying to improve their abilities to communicate with them. They are improving all the commercial department. They are improving their export department managers and people who are working outside from their country. So I think this is what I told you before. Some people decided, some CEOs decided, okay, we are going to save money, we are going to cut employees, we are going to reduce the employment. But other people, other CEOs, they do the opposite. They decided to increase the number of people. They decided to increase some departments, some strategic departments. They decided to do more training courses. So is different point of view. One point of view, okay, you are negative, you have a bad sensation, you feel bad, you feel reactive. But other CEOs, they see in a different point of view. Okay, we can stop, we have to move, we have to do things, we have to prove new things, new ideas. So for me, this is the idea, and I did the same. I remember when I was with COVID, and now with the situation of the world, you can be stopped. You have to reflect, you have to move, you have to try new things. Because for me, this is the key point. If you stop, you are dying, because you feel anxious, you feel negative, you feel that you can control anything. So movement, I think this is really, really, really important.
And I think I think I'm going to completely agree with Nikki here, talking about embracing risk and taking calculated risk, right?
Mhm.
I think from CEO's point of view, or from any business leaders, maybe not even, they may not even have to be a CEO, is what I said. Um, you know, how can I develop the capacity, should I say that, the capacity for sitting with uncertainty, for dealing with uncertainty. And the other half is a more sort of technical part, right? So obviously I don't want to be going out there taking wild risk. How can we develop the technical competence to know, what are we doing? Because especially in the world right now, where calculations are like, okay, I don't know. So when we talk about incomprehensible and and a non-linear, right? How do I take a calculated risk where it's so difficult to calculate right now?
Okay. Yes, well, as I told you before, well, apart from this movement, I think it's important that you define your main goals and objectives of it. Be so clear, very clear in what is the most important, and have a clear direction, at least your main direction after all the information that you have. Start with small steps. Defeat your fear, because you have a lot of fear, of course. Concentrate on all the things that you can control, and forget the rest, because they are not going to help you, even though they are going to be against you. Okay, be open to new surprises, new ideas, new results. Do more things just in case. Some will fail, but other will succeed. Uh, and personally, I think it's important that you have any hobby, any to practice any sports, because this will help you to feel better. And if your emotions are good, okay, your brain, your thoughts are better. So concentrate on your projects. For example, if you want to do something new, if you want to study, and of course, avoid the routine. Avoid all this kind of negative news that you can hear on TV, on the media, this kind of thing. Surround by positive people, people that think that there are new ways of doing things. Surround with your team. So there are a lot of things, but for me, this is movement. Movement. Don't be a stop, because if you are a stop, you are dead.
Yeah. And actually, I think the couple of things that Nikki has written, which I think completely agrees with what you've said, right? So movement has to be exactly as you said, have a predefined goal, know what is your objective, know what is your aim, right? So that we don't run around in circles, and also to stop and think, and even to meditate. You mentioned that, but really, know where you are, taking small little steps, having a bit of a hobby, having a balanced mental health life. I think that's very, very important. and obviously avoid negativity if you can. Um, I I will challenge you on this one, actually. That's why I was still here. Because I think as the leader, we often have to take in all the information, and especially market information, right? So, for instance, I need to know that there is a war happening in Ukraine, in Russia, and what are the impacts that could be on my business, my work, and on my team. And some of these things will necessarily be negative, but I can't just kind of bury my head and go like, okay, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to see it. Don't tell me about it, right? And
Hmm.
I need to know, for example, that sales is down, this month by 50%. That I have lost a lot of people through the Great Resignation, and so on and so forth. So, what is your advice to leaders who need to keep a pulse on information, and the information is, relentlessly negative sometimes?
Yes, but I think that the problem of that is the resource, or where do you get the information? Because some information is not objective, it's subjective. So it has a lot of negativeness, and it's not so objective. So for me, this is the key point. Of course, you can be okay. I don't want to know anything because of course this is necessary. You need some information to get better decisions, of course, but for me the important is the source where you go to get it, because sometimes if you receive a lot of information and depends on the resource you look for, the result is completely negative. In my case, for instance, I prefer to get information from other colleagues who are working in the sector, in the same sector as me, because the information I get is better, or even though with the customers they have the better information. But I avoid, for instance, information from the media or from TV, because this is have a lot of negativeness and it's not always true, you know. So for me, this is important. Okay, you have to choose exactly where you want to choose the best information. It doesn't matter if this we are now in a VUCA situation or not. I think to define exactly where to get it, it's really important, because as a CEO you have a lot of information, and one of the most important abilities, skills, is that you have to choose the correct information and to take decisions. So choose the correct decision. That will be more idea, no, the source.
And I think, I think this is Nina. So she's talking about breathe and to practice gratitude, right? To, yes, keep moving
Yeah.
your body, and keep on moving forward, and to just breathe, create. Be grateful for where we are. Perhaps, like you said, right? Evaluate the information.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I think critical thinking, especially critical thinking, I don't think that business leaders are without critical thinking, but it's critical thinking on the fly. Like literally, as the information comes in, and information is flooding in at every moment these days, going like, okay, what is important, what is not important, what is objective, what is not objective, is this something that will affect? So I'll give you a simple example, right? Ukraine is very, very far from where I am, which is in Singapore. I mean, you are in Europe, you're much nearer, but Ukraine is very, very far from Singapore, and they are not even a very major trading partner for Singapore. And yet, I've had so many clients report to me that it has impacted them in some way or other. Supply chain problems. Some of their clients have businesses there, and therefore they need to, extend extend certain arrangements with their clients. Some of them is, oh, my business associate actually has family in Ukraine and so forth. So I think the world is so interconnected these days, that sometimes you'll go like, okay, is this information important for me? Is it like, do I need to know? And oftentimes the answer is yes, yes, and yes, right? And that's one of the things. And so one of the things is, as Nikki said, and I agree, which is that we need to sometimes get out into nature. We need to go out there and look at, just take a break, go out there and help ourselves come back to almost to sanity, to peace. And let's go scale a little bit down, right? So now I'm the leader. I've dealt with my own fear. Okay. Now I have a team. And they are just as afraid, or I mean, I won't use the word afraid, but they're just as anxious, they're just as unsettled by all this uncertainty as I am. What do I do as their leader?
Wow, this is it. This is really important because the team is the reflect of the leader. So that's why I told you that you have to deal with the negativity and you have to try to avoid the situation because I remember some years ago, even though when I went to my old company, and I remember that there was no COVID, there was no war, but even though I was listening the radio every day, and all the news were very bad, negative, everything, all the economic indicators were very bad. So I remember when I was entering to my office, and my face was completely sad, and the people look at you and say, okay. What's the problem? Maybe it's the company. Maybe it's that they are going to fire anyone. So this one day I decided, okay, I'm going to lose to avoid these kind of things because it doesn't help me, but it doesn't help the other people or my colleagues or my employees. So what I did is I changed the radio. I put music. I decided instead of going to work, connecting to work by a road, I decided to go near the beach. So the picture and the image was completely different from the previous one. And what I did is, okay, I decided to get to the store, to the office, and to have a better communication with my employees. So you have to have a positive face, and of course you have to increase the communication with your employees and to be very humble. If you don't have any solutions, you have to say it because you are not God. You are a leader, of course, but you are not God. You don't have a
No, some
a magic
leaders
ball.
seem to think that they are God, but anyway, true, right? Okay.
Yes,
No, but
yes.
I completely agree what you're saying, right? Which is, as the leader, we need to be self-aware. We need to know what is the impact of my actions, my emotions, my emotional state, or just my what I'm doing on the team. Right. So that will probably be the first thing, right? First, be aware of your impact. And
Mm,
then the second thing is really to sit down and communicate to the team, like talk to the team. You'll be surprised how much communication has in general gone down.
yeah.
I mean, I think now we have got back. We've gotten back, okay. But initially, communication just like went down the drain because everybody was home, and all the casual communications, like just dropping by people's desk and go, "Hey, are you all right? You don't look quite so well," or "Hey, you want to go for lunch?" Or even a water cooler drink. Or, "Oh my goodness, the project is so terrible." All that was gone because we got onto a Zoom, we dealt with the work, and then we moved on and we moved on and we moved on. And there was so many of us with back to back, right? And so that, not so much the work communication, I think that's still there, but the other communication, the kind of communication that gels a team, that really allows you to understand their struggles, I think that was really missing. And I'm heartened to see that that has come back. But I think that really made a lot of difference to people's lives.
Yes, absolutely. And Serene, even though that's why I told you that before, there are some CEOs that they are trying to increase their community and their communication with their employees, that they are trying to improve this main skill that I think is essential. And right now, even though more, no? And for me, this is very important, no? Being humble, of course, and being clear, and because if not, the rumors spread around the company. So I think right now it's more important. Try to connect with them every day online or physically, eye to eye connect. But it's really, really, really important. The information must be every day and every moment.
And I think Nina has agreed with you as well that the information has to be reliable. It's like avoid clickbait. The other thing is to set aside a time to read bad news. Right? Okay, so this is all the bad news. Look at it. Get it down, process it. Figure out what it is, and then move on. Right? And I think that also is true of communication, right? Whether it is news, whether it is internally, right? Okay, this is what we have heard, and how do you translate these perhaps very bad news to your team, right? I mean, if you've just heard from quarters that there is going to be a retrenchment exercise, but you don't know who is going to stay and who is going to go yet, right? Then, you know, how do you communicate? How do you say this? You know, what are you going to do? I think there is a whole area in terms of communication. Um, yes, so yeah, yes. Thank you so much. And I would love for the CEOs to hear about it. And I think, yes, they should hear, I mean, they should do more in terms of communication. Now, since we're on the topic of CEO, let's go on a little bit further, right? Like if I have an organization or maybe even just a division that I'm in charge,
Wow. Hello? Hello, Serene. I can hear you and I can see you. I don't know if you are there or not.
yes, anything that can go wrong did go wrong. My
Yes.
power was down. My in
Okay,
Singapore.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we are only. I don't know whether we are truly a first world country. No, I'm just kidding. The power is just down in my own unit. I do not know why. I will figure it out later. So I
Okay.
apologize. I
Don't
hope you have
worry.
been sharing like your wisdom for all the time that we are not allowed. Yes. Okay. So Nikki has shared that. Tell us, you know, what is some of the work that you've done and how has that made an impact on your client and on your organization.
Okay. For instance, one of the things that I think it's really important is increase the communication, as I told you before. So, for instance, what I did with some leaders was the following: a daily briefing, for instance, every day before opening the store starts to run and they start to work. All the peoples surround around the leader, and the leader have to speak clearly with a clear message about what their goals for that day, about the good things that they achieved the previous day, and about some ideas for that day. So first, daily briefing. Secondly, okay, another thing that I introduced was that, okay, normally when you have a meeting is with the leader and the staff and the board of directors. Okay, so we include in some of the meetings some people that they are employees that work in the staff, in the that they are normal people, working people, and so we include inside, because the idea is that to increase the communication. When these employees they leave the meeting, they start to talk to other colleagues around the factory or around the company. So this is a way of increasing communication, not only through online internal webs or email or WhatsApp. No, it's really, really, really good communication. Also, try to avoid, of course, the word me, and start to use we and team in all your communications, all the things that you do. Really, really important. If you want to change the atmosphere on your company, okay, use start to appreciate and celebrate more things, because we are living in a difficult moment, and we can see the future, we can see the objective, but through the path we can make big small steps, and we can get some small objectives. So each time you get a small objectives, please Celebrate it. Please tell your team, okay, we did it, we achieved it. That is really important because your morale increase a lot. The positivism. I do it in my life, of course, every day. So these small things are so powerful that suddenly things change.
And I think that ties into the question that I was trying to ask and then got thrown off, which is really like how can we build an organization or a division to deal with uncertainty? And I guess a lot of what you've shared, right? So being able to appreciate and celebrate even small wins, because one of the things about uncertainty is we don't know if we really will hit that big win
Yeah.
because things change so fast. We don't know what's next, right? So every little step that we take in a very chaotic and uncertain world, I think deserves to be celebrated because this is not easy, right? It's not easy to take a step forward when things are changing. And I think, including all members of the staff all the way down is also something that we can do as an organization because unfortunately, if things are stable, I think the top management can set the direction, set the strategy, and move forward to implement the plans. But if things are not stable, then oftentimes it is the people on the front line who has to make the decision then and there of what to do. And if they were in those strategy meetings and have an idea of where things are going to go, that makes it easier for them. And then thirdly, of course, having a we culture, a team culture, that's powerful, right? So Nikki was saying that in hotels every day there are daily meetings, 15 minutes of head of department, and that works wonderfully. And you are right. I mean, it works for hotels. Hotels are an inherently very complex organization. A lot of moving parts, a lot of different clients coming in and out. So I think translating that to different other organizations and having that work, that would be great. Nina was talking about how to demonstrate uncertainty in action, right? So actually, to really kind of feel that, okay, yes, we don't know either. I think one of the things, I'm not sure about you guys, I mean, text me in and tell me how you feel, but one of the things I really felt assured by is where, the leader goes, look, we don't know what it is, like during COVID, right? This is what we do know. This is what we are trying to do to protect you. But, stay tuned and we will try to, keep you updated. But yeah, like what you said, I'm not God, I don't know either, but I'm being open and transparent with you. And I think that openness, that transparency, the willingness to admit that we don't know it all,
Yeah.
that's very good for organization. Yeah. So I think maybe one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about is this, which is moving forward into the world. Do you think that we will I'm not even going to ask you, do you think we'll be more uncertain? Because I think the answer is yes. But do you think we will get better at dealing with this? Do you think that, as organizations or as leaders, that we will get better? Or do you think it will always be kind of a struggle to deal with this level of uncertainty?
Yeah, I understand perfectly the question because I think we are going to struggle with that. If we have the feeling or the thought that things are going to be as before the war, as before COVID, as before anything. So I started this speech saying that the world has changed and never it will be the same. And I think this is the key idea. If you don't have that in your mind, you are going to struggle every day. I think uh, I understand that people, and because we are human beings and we have the necessity to control everything, but you can control, even though you can control your life. Maybe tomorrow I have an accident or my heart breaks or I don't know. But people have that necessity to control. But instead of having that necessity to control, what if you think, okay, we have to embrace the new reality, a new way of living? Okay. In the moment you decide that, I think things change. It's a new perspective, a new way of doing things. You start to train your skills, your abilities. So for me, this is the key. Okay, Don't think about the past because the past is not going to return. It's past. Think about the present and think about the future. And this will help you to move forward. That is the main idea. I don't know what you think, Serene, about
Yes.
that, but this is my point of view.
Yes, so I actually was looking at some of the comments from Nikki. He says, empower your people to be invested in your success, incentivize that. And that in Asia, he does find that there is a lot of very top down controlling organizations.
Hmm.
Also in the Gulf, I think also in Spain. I would probably say also everywhere else. I think
Yeah.
that's quite common. Yeah. Yeah. And that this has to change, right? This has to change because what happens is a lot of this top-down control worked very well when the world was predictable, right? 100 years ago, when the world, or 200 years ago, when the world was very predictable and changes happened very slowly, top-down control works still. But the moment that that is not true, then actually we need a different way of control, right? So I often give the example of a body, right? So obviously my body all works together to keep me alive. But when my hand touches something hot, my hand does not wait to tell to my brain and then for my brain to say, hey, yeah, it's too hot, right? Please remove your hand from that because by then my whole hand will be burnt, right? So the moment I touch it, the hand makes a decision that no, this is too hot. We need to keep the body unharmed, and they move back. And that's the kind of almost empowerment that we need to go. He says UK is slightly better that people speak up and that there is free speech. Um, that's great. But I think we need to move towards exactly what you're saying, right? We need to move towards a new reality. Go towards like, okay, the pre no, I think so many of us go like, oh, are we going back to what we were? Are we going back to normal? And that's never happening again, right?
Yes.
That's never
Yes.
happening again. Whatever was the normal in the pre-COVID times, that is over. And the world has changed and the world has moved on, and we need to kind of let go of the need to say, hey, I want to control what comes next. Let go of it and go like, hey, we are in this new reality. There's two ways to look at it, right? Oh my goodness, I'm afraid, I'm anxious, I don't know what it is, I can't control it. Or hey, it's going to be an adventurous ride. It's going to be an exciting adventure. Let's figure out what goes next. Yeah. I'm
The
not sure
sooner,
what you think about that.
yes, yes, I was thinking that about that. Okay, the sooner you understand that, the better for you and for your team, of course. This is very very clear because the world is not going to be the same anymore. So I think there is a new leadership. There is a new way of leading people. This is not more control. This is more trusting in your team. You are only one. We are talking about we. You have to trust them. You have to give more power. You have to give more responsibilities. Yesterday I was talking with a CEO specifically about that. No, he decided to change his structure for the last 2 years. He has a lot of department with a lot of control. The all the structure, the whole hierarchy, with a general manager, with a general director, commercial, a marketing director. So he decided, okay, no more hierarchy. Okay, let's go to work by projects. Let's improve our abilities. Let's work together as a team. For me, this is a new way of leading. It's there's no more control. It's more about trusting. So this is a key point for my point of view in this uncertain world.
And just to kind of recap, I think, I agree with you that about this new leadership, that, hey, we have got to move from command and control from a hierarchical one into a new paradigm of leadership, right? Into one where we trust, right? I think, like Nikki said, this is a new normal. Changes are needed at the top. Well, it says we need more women, perhaps, but I think what we need really is for both men and women to start to think a lot differently about what it is, right? Although, what is going to be, how can we trust? It is true that trust needs to be built and that people do tend to forget easily. And I'm going to agree with you that certain things are much more culturally or organizationally, culturally in the sense of the organizational culture, supportive, and some things are not. But I think at the end of the day that we need to start moving somewhere. Because if you're going to sit here and go, like, oh, but my organizational culture is not like that, oh, this is not how we do things in Asia, and so on and so forth. Um, but we're not going to get anywhere, right? It's like what you said. If we don't move forward, we're just going to die, right? But I think we need to start trusting people. We need to start supporting them, as what Nina says, enabling, supporting, empowering people. Um, like what I told leaders this, right? Look, by the time that they report to you and you make that decision, the world has changed and the market needs a different decision.
Can I share with you an
Sure,
anecdote
sure, sure, sure.
about a CEO? Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
the other day I was with a CEO in his company. I'm helping him, and I was in his office, and I saw a book, a marketing book about how to generate new ideas in an uncertain world, and he was reading that book, and I say, okay, you are reading a book about how to create, how to have new ideas. Okay. And my question was very clear. Instead of reading that book, why you don't go to your people and ask them why what they will do? Because you have 50 people, 50 brains, and you didn't realize about you have 50 people with 50 brains and a lot of ideas that maybe they will help you. So sometimes we have the knowledge near us, but we don't realize. So we have to change our mind.
yeah. Yes. And I agree with you. I mean, I like, you know, why should you? I mean, and it's like, how could a marketing book give you an idea that is more relevant than your people who are actually doing the work, right? And so, like you said, it's a question of trust, right? Do you trust your people? And Nina was saying, Nina is an Antarctica guide. And she says that in outdoor work, they always have multiple contingencies. They always have the ability to adjust to constantly changing conditions, to move from plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And any expedition leader will have that power. And if they don't have that power, well, the expedition is about that, right? So I think we need to start having that level of trust in people to go like, hey, um, why, you need, as they said, we need to set aside our ego and
Ego.
start to grab the tiger by the tail. We need to change ourselves first, right? Because if not,
Mhm.
if we are insecure, how are you going to trust? And I
Yeah.
totally agree with Nikki. I think the reason many leaders don't trust is because I'm afraid, right? What happens if I trust you to do it and you fail me, right? I am ultimately at the end of the day responsible for the results of what's going to happen then. And I
Mm,
think that trust comes from a deep fear. And
mm.
perhaps that deep fear comes from, like what we said earlier on about Bunny, right? From this anxious state where every choice is a disaster. Like no matter what decision I make, there's a potential for disaster. But what would you give as an advice to leaders, who maybe in that state of like, hey, wait, I'm responsible, right? If they make a mistake, I'm responsible. What would you say?
Well, I think the change, as Nikki says, starts from the leader. If you don't believe yourself, if you have a big ego and you want to control everything, the problem is not your team. The problem is you. So I will recommend you to work with a coach, for instance, and to start to work with all of these things. Because if you change these things, you will be able to have a better company, a better team, and these kind of things. So the change starts from oneself. If you don't want to, if you don't want to change, if you don't want to lose control, if you don't want to trust your people, it's going to be very complicated. So for me, this is the key point. Okay, you can have the help of a coach, of a mentor, another person with a lot of experience in this situation that can help you, but you have to say, hey, I need help. And this is really important because there are some leaders and some people in here, also in Spain, that they don't want to say, sorry, I don't know. I need help. I need help from someone from outside, from a mentor, from a coach, from a consultant. I need help from my people. So you have to be so humble to say, okay, I don't have all the solutions.
And I think maybe we should step back and ask one question. And I mean, what are the things that I will see in my team, or perhaps in myself, or in my work performance, that will hint that I need help? Like, how would I know? And I think, some of the things that we need to look at, right, is, for example, are you burning out, right? So are you trying to do so much? Because I think it's more work to control people than it is to trust people, honestly. So
Yeah.
are you burning out from your workload? And yet still not performing? Do you always feel like, oh, how I wish my people would step up to the plate, how I wish my people would take more initiative? Because I often get that from leaders. And I always ask them, have you thought about why they are not taking initiative? Why they are not stepping up to the plate? Because most of the time, it's either corporate culture or it's the leader's issue, right? It's one or the other. If you, what a third thing would be, if you constantly feel like um, you are in fear, you are anxious, you are not sure if you will be able to deal with contingencies and so on. I think those are really good indicators. And obviously the last one, I think, this is something you probably have to kind of be honest with yourself. Do you ultimately trust your people? Do you
Yeah.
trust them or not? Right? And if the answer comes back no, then I think it calls for some real self-reflection, right? Do is this my issue with trust, or is this a particular employee's issue? And if it is, let's say, I mean, I have 5 people in my team, and there's one I don't trust and 4 I trust, then it's an issue between me and this one person, and I need to sit down and honestly look at it and go, how am I going to resolve this, right? Nikki says get therapy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a psychological issue often. I gotta tell you this, Nikki, and I love this research. The research says that CEOs are more likely to be psychopaths than any other occupation. I was so amused. Okay, that being said, okay, I must say this: it's like 0.2% of them are actually psychopaths. So like 99.8% of them are not, but still, they are the one occupation that has like the most psychopaths of anything else, right? And then that's kind of funny. Yeah. So if yes, then it's no problem to give away power, to give away control. It's true. But um, I think the ultimate struggle is this, right? Which is I give away power, but I hold responsibility.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that just because I empower my staff to do it, that if they fail, my head is not on the block, right? So it's that balance between accountability. How do I ensure that they are accountable? Um, Trust, right? If I cannot trust these people after quite a while, then the issue is either this person is truly incapable, you need to replace, or the issue is with me. I have a big issue with trust. I need to change myself. One of two things, right? So really looking at that. And then Nina has says that when it comes to how you recognize you need help, not sure whether I've also mentioned insomnia, poor diet, letting go of positive routines like exercise. These are all red flags for her. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Nina. If some of you have red flags, then just know this. Like if you know yourself well enough to go like, okay, if these things happen, is a red flag. Then that's even better, even greater. So yes, Nikki says she's seen many psychopaths. Oh my goodness, it is work. Yes. Okay. So, we're coming to the top of the hour. I want to just ask if you have like if there's one thing you would really want leaders who are listening to this and leaders at all levels to take away from this conversation, what do you really want them to know?
Yes, I will say trust your people. Trust your people. Don't be so focused on yourself. I have a code that say, okay, if you want to run fast, do it alone. But if you want to go further, go with your team. That is my quote, and I where I go, I predicate with that, because for me this is the main idea. And now we need to collaborate more. We need to work in a team. We need to work. We used to the word we, as we said before, as we are doing right now. For me, this is the key point. Start to think about yourself and start to think about your team, because if you take care of your team, they will take care of you. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've asked those of them who are on the call with us to share. Nikki has shared a few. She says you need to live with calculated risk because business is uncertain and not everything will work. And therefore, we need to build in failure. And this is the whole idea behind agile business, right? Fail early, fail fast, fail often, and keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. No, that learning organization idea, right? To keep failing, keep learning, keep moving forward, and build better and better. And then one thing for Nikki is be bolder, and then when we are all together, we are better.
Yeah.
That is true, right? And if anyone else of you want to share this, like just put it into the comments, share it with us. I think just over this conversation, I just want to sum it up, and really in three things, right? The first is that we are facing more uncertainty than before. We used to say VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous, but now it's even worse, right? It's bunny, which is like incomprehensible, not anxious, everything ends in disaster, and that is a much worse situation that we're in. But yet, I think leaders can build and can be with their people. So three things I think. First is as a leader myself, how am I able to be self-aware enough to know the kind of leadership that I'm exercising? That leadership has to be trusting, that leadership has to be inclusive. I have to empower my people and not have it be controlled and not have it be hierarchical, authoritarian.
Yeah.
Next is, like what you said, right? Step into the new reality. The old is not coming back. The past is gone. Step into the new reality. Accept, go to the new reality, like move on, right? Take this one step forward. I mean, we could be filled with fear, but if we could just take that one little step forward and celebrate our one little wins, then that would be fantastic, right? Just step forward a little bit at a time and keep celebrating our wins as a team, and move from me to we and move from I to team.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of the team, really is being there for them, supporting them, communicate, 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 like talk, 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 talk. Yeah.
Communication is key right now.
Yes, right. I mean, if you're not, it's not just work, but really communicating on all things. And I think in an organization, it's this capacity to go like, I don't know, capacity to go like, hey, I don't know where we are going with this, but we will be transparent with you and we will be on going on forward. Okay. So Nina also has a last comment. She's thanks Serene and thanks Javier. And then Nikki is like, okay, all right, Nikki, let's bye for now. I think I really thank you today for coming by, Javier, for sharing all of your insights, all of the work that you have done with your clients, and what really worked with on the ground with people. If you want to connect with Javier, this is his LinkedIn. Um, LinkedIn, LinkedIn link was what I was gonna
LinkedIn.
say. Anyway, this is LinkedIn. Do search him up. He's also written a book. He's an author. And this is his book site. So if you would like to support him, you can also go and have a look at it. And next week, who's coming by is going to be Eugen. Eugen is going to talk about something quite interesting, which is what is the missing key to solving unsolvable problems? Because a lot of times leaders are being tasked to solve things that are completely intractable, completely like hairy problems, and I have no idea how to solve them. What is the one missing link that would enable leaders to solve these kinds of problems? So same thing, Saturday. Not Saturday. Oh, I'm Thursday. Same time. No, it'll be 2 hours earlier. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock Central Europe. And 1 p.m. Singapore. And do come and join us next week. So, Javier, thank you so much for today. Any last words? I always let my guests have the last word.
It was a pleasure to be with you again, Serene.
Yes. Thank you so much, Javier. Thanks to all of you for coming by. Thank you, and I'll see you
Bye
next
bye.
week. Bye bye.